Okay guys, now the system that we're going to be taking a look at today was completely free, and that is because I took it out of a dumpster. For those of us in the UK, that is called a skip. It is a little bit beaten up, but will it boot? And if it boots, can we actually game on it? Now, like I say, the system that we got here today was actually pulled out of a dumpster, so it's not in the best condition. It's a lot of denting across the case and the chassis, but it does seem to be quite superficial. The system is a Lenovo ThinkCentre. I'm not 100% sure what model it is because half of the stuff is actually missing and there's no kind of stickers on here to even suggest what type of CPU's in there. The front panel is quite broken and just about hangs on, but I did manage to actually save it. And it does have a front I/O, which I'm hoping will work, at least if the power button works. I think we're at least going to be halfway there. And I did actually manage to save the side panel, although I don't think it's going to be much cut because, of course, it's not exactly going to stay on the case. But apart from that and all of the damage that is around the case, which does seem to be quite superficial, we do seem to have all of the components needed to get a system up and running. We have a tiny little power supply here, which is only a 180 watts, so we're not going to be powering too much with this, and that's probably a good indication that there's not a lot really sitting underneath this cooler. We do, of course, have a cooler, which looks like it could work. There's no actual damage on that cooler at all, and of course there is a CPU under there, but again, I don't know exactly what that is. Then when it comes to storage, we do have this SATA SSD sitting here. I'm guessing that it does work, and it's probably been a replacement at some time, but it is a 240GB Kingston technology, so at least we've got a bit of storage with this unit. And it does come with a stick of RAM, which probably isn't the greatest. I'm guessing it's probably only around a 4GB or something. It's very dirty, but yeah, so it's an SK Hynix 4GB of DDR3. Now that DDR3 of course does suggest that the motherboard is quite old, and it actually is. It is a H61M, so that means it is a second or third generation Intel board. So I'm guessing that based on the power supply, the very low 4GB of RAM, the fact that this system came from an old office and probably did something like spreadsheets, it's most likely something like an i3 2100 or a third generation i3, something like that. It's not going to be the greatest, most powerful system in the world, but if it does work, we probably could get some games running on it. So I suppose the only thing that we need to do now is actually test, can we actually get this system to boot? So let's go hook it up on the benching desk and see if that actually happens. So even though the system is quite beaten up, it doesn't actually look like it's doing too much damage, particularly around the motherboard and that, but I am a little bit worried about the buckle that is in the back here, just in case it has buckled anything in the back. I don't want anything touching the back of the motherboard because otherwise it could short out and stuff. So I will actually bend this panel back as much as I can. It's going to be a little bit tough, but we should be able to get a little bit of bend out there. So just straightened up a little bit more. The only thing it's really affecting is these old COM ports here. I don't know who would use COM ports anymore, but clearly it's been connected to some kind of weird printer or something. We also don't have any kind of HDMI on here. There's no graphics card, so we're going to have to use the old DVI connection, and we'll need an adapter for that. So we'll just plonk that onto there, get the system all hooked up, and press the button and see what happens. So now with everything actually hooked up, it should be time to see if the system will boot. Hopefully we do get a spinning CPU fan here and we get a little bit of noise from the system. I don't know if there's any kind of speakers in there. There is a huge speaker at the front, so maybe we'll get a few beeps and stuff like that. We'll just hit the power button now, and hopefully we do get some power into the system. And there we go, the actual CPU fan is running. We're going to try and get into the BIOS first. I don't suspect there is anything on the SSD. Hopefully they wiped it, but here we go. We're straight into the BIOS. This is looking pretty good so far, particularly for a free PC, something that clearly worked when it went into the skip, and luckily I pulled it out just in time. So the only thing that we've got in this BIOS is very basic. It's a Lenovo BIOS setup utility, but we can go to a system summary. We'll head into there and we can see what CPU we've got. And it is the Intel Core i5. It's actually an i5 processor, not an i3. 3470S. Now, I've never actually had an S processor before, but I do believe they're pretty much the same as the normal ones, but slightly lower power, which kind of makes sense to the rest of the system, really, particularly with that very low wattage power supply. It has got a CPU speed of 2.9 gigahertz, and it's obviously a 4-core processor, so it's an older quad core now. It's got 4 GB of RAM, which is exactly what we saw when we installed it, so at least that's working perfectly fine, and it's running at 1600 MHz, which is not too bad, to be honest. We can see that it's also picked up the SSD here, so we've got a Kingston SV300 something 240 GB, so at least that's been read and found as well. So I suppose what we need to do now is shut the system down, reboot it again, get a copy of Windows or something installed, and see if we can play some games on it. So with the system booted up, we've managed to install Windows 10 Professional. It's not an operating system that I would advise anybody going for anymore, but it is something that will run perfectly fine on this one, and it will give us an opportunity to test things. Before we head into any kind of gaming or anything like that, we're going to head over to our task manager, and we're going to just double check the components inside of here. For the CPU, of course, we've got the i5-3470S. It's not one that I'm hugely familiar with, but I do believe the S processors are slightly lower TDP'd, but there's always one way to check. I'm not 100% sure what graphics it actually uses, but we'll go for the i5-3470S, and we should be able to check on the Intel website. Now, on the Intel website here, we can see that it is an Ivory Bridge CPU. It was released in around 2012, so that's Q2 2012. It is a 4-core 4-thread processor with a max turbo frequency of 3.6 GHz, so it's all pretty standard really, and it has a TDP of 65 watts, so that is probably slightly lower than the non-S version. It supports up to 32 GB of DDR, which obviously we're getting nowhere near that because we've only got 4 GB. And then for the graphics, we've got an Intel HD Graphics 2500. Now I do know that they are very weak, even when they were released, to be honest. They're not something that many people would game off. They were generally used for office PC type stuff, just to be able to, it's a display adapter effectively, just to get a picture on a screen, or even though you do have lots of Intel technologies and stuff to use. But I think when it comes to gaming, if you are playing something like the original Doom or Doom 2, even the remastered versions, this system will actually just play that perfectly fine. You'll have a great time on those games. It'll have absolutely no issues in 1080p playing those types of games. If you go for something a little bit newer, even if you only stretched as far as something like 2013's Tomb Raider, this system will actually really struggle. 1080p, you're probably going to get a very unplayable experience, even in a low setting, but 720p, you might be able to get away with it, although it will look like absolute garbage. So we need to find something in between. The games that I've installed on here are slightly in between those two kind of things. The first one is Half-Life 2. Now, Half-Life 2, again, it's not the best test in the world for any system, but it is a game that is hugely still played today, and it has really held up the test of time. So if it can play this, you're going to get away with playing pretty much all of the Valve series of games, Half-Life 1, that kind of stuff, and they're still great games to play today. So let's see what kind of performance we get in Half-Life 2. Now we're in the menu system at the moment. We're currently getting around 48 frames per second, 49 frames per second, but I don't know what is actually configured. We're going to go over to Half-Life 2. We'll, I don't know, load a game in, or we'll start a new game or something. So just start on any level really. We'll go to this one. So we'll start the game up. I believe that it's auto preset itself to 1080p. We know that far. And then what we'll do is we'll head over to the settings in the options, video. Yep, so we're in 1080p. We're going to go to advanced and see what's configured in here. So we've got high model detail, high texture detail, high shader detail. Pretty much everything is high apart from the anti-aliasing mode, which is set to none. This game will actually play perfectly fine and look fine with that on, but I think what I'll do is I'll turn it on to 2 times and we'll see if that just smooths things out a little bit. Apart from that, everything else looks pretty good. So we'll click OK, apply, and then we'll resume the game. We can always turn that setting off if it does kind of really hinder our performance, but the game is now actually reloaded, and we'll OK that. We'll go to resume game. We just reset the stats there. We can see that we're currently getting an average of around 54 frames per second. I think that's because we did turn things up a little bit. This game should perform a lot better even on this. The GPU is maxing out at 100%, whereas the CPU is actually not too bad, to be honest. So I think what we will do is we'll go back over to those settings for now, and we're going to turn that setting off. We're going to turn this to none. Okay, we want a high FPS experience in this game. It just kind of deserves it, really. Let the screen just reset. Now that we've turned that setting off, we are getting nearly 90 frames per second on average, and we'll just run all the way through the game. I absolutely love this game still today. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I think a lot of people do love this game, and considering that you can pretty much play it on anything and it still looks absolutely great, it's just something that is really good for systems like this. kill this guy on the stairs, and then we'll take a look at the performance. So our performance is holding out at the moment at 79 frames per second on average with a 1% low of 49. Everything is still looking good. So I think we can definitely call this. Half-Life 2 is definitely a game you can play on a free PC that you pulled from a dumpster with an iGPU. We had a little bit of a dip there as we came up through the steps, but it's starting to smoothen out a little bit now. We're getting a continuous of around 49 frames per second with a 1% low, still hindering around 40 FPS, but it's still absolutely playable, and still you can have a great time with this kind of game. So I think what we'll do is we'll try something else and see if we can actually play something around similar year to this, because this kind of seems like this is the best place for it. Now the next game is a little bit of a weird one. I haven't played it in years, but I saw it on my back catalogue and I thought, why not give it a go? It's literally released at the same year as Half-Life 2, although I don't think it looks as good. To be honest, it hasn't held up as much, but it is Battlefront 1. I absolutely loved this game when it first came out. It was a kind of a multiplayer game, but you can play it in a single player mode and you're playing against bots. Not a lot of people really got on well with it because of that. They wanted something that was a little bit more campaigny, but it was still a lot of fun to play, particularly if you had a lot of friends. Back when Half-Life 2 and this game were released, LAN parties were a big thing, and this game was like one of the kings of LAN parties, really. If you had a bunch of friends in a room playing games, this was definitely something you wanted to play. But let's see if this little iGPU can actually keep up. This should be a little bit more demanding than Half-Life 2 because it just wasn't as well optimized back in the day, and I don't think they've done much work on it. Obviously Half-Life 2's had a lot of work done on it over the years, and they've kind of really optimize things and stuff like that. But let's spawn into the game and see what happens. Now things are looking a little bit bigger here, to be honest. I don't know what settings we've got configured, but we are running at an okay performance. We're currently getting an average of around 45 frames per second, and it depends where you look in this game. If you look at these trees, we're suddenly dropping our performance down to the 40s, but if we actually look at where we're supposed to be going, it climbs back up to around 65. So that's not too bad, I don't suppose. But let's see if we can head over to the settings. It should pause the game being in a single player mode, and we'll see what we've got configured. Now, unfortunately, there isn't anything around resolution here, but I don't think this is in 1080p because we can tell by the size of our overlay here. I think this is 720p, and we have a mixture of high and low settings. I don't think we're going to change much on this one because we're not going to get any more out of this. If we increase the resolution, we're just going to drop in performance. But let's see if we can actually kill something. Can we kill at least one guy? I don't know where the run button is in this, but there's a guy. Oh, I don't know if I got him or not, or if somebody else got him, but let's try and find another one. So they're riding these things here. Can we get him? Yes, so we actually got a guy. You do die a lot in this game, I will admit. Even once we get into this shield thing here, we're just going to be an absolute target for everyone. Whoops, I killed my own guy there. That's probably not the best thing. I am a droid, so I don't think it really matters too much, but we actually managed to kill quite a few things today. I remember playing this game years and years ago, and it was much harder than this, but there we go, we reloaded. That guy throwing grenades at us, go away. We got a guy in a big machine gun. Well, nearly got us then, that guy. Nearly turned around and got us, but okay, this is another game that you can actually play on this little system. So far, we're having a win-win. So Half-Life 2, absolutely no problem. You can play that on a free dumpster PC, and Battlefront 1, which is a very unusual game nowadays, but it works, and you can still have a lot of fun on it. Now, one thing that this system like this should be actually pretty good at is emulation. If you can't play your latest Steam games and things like that, you can definitely get away with playing older games like PlayStation 1 and stuff like that. And to be able to demonstrate that, I have installed DuckStation, which is a PlayStation 1 emulator. It does work for Windows, and you can also get it for Linux, and it is absolutely fantastic because you can actually render the games in a lot higher resolution. You can smoothen out all the graphics, and you can get it up to full 1080p, particularly on this type of monitor and system setup. And everything looks much better than the original console itself. So the game that we're going to try here is Crash Bandicoot. We'll just give that a fresh boot here. I have tweaked some of the settings, so it is going to be rendering in 5 times its original resolution into 1080p, so it should be nice and smooth. We'll just hit F11 and hopefully we can get a full screen on the go. And this is a great use case for a system like this, particularly if we can unbuckle and unbend the case, get the side back on, maybe actually do a case upgrade on or something like that, because it does look a bit trashy. But I'm sure we will get something running great on it later on. But let's just skip through this intro at the moment. As you saw, you got the original PlayStation 1 starting load up screen, which is great. Everybody loves that screen. It's going to bring back a lot of nostalgia. Just have to wait for loading screens and stuff. Some emulators you can skip this kind of stuff, but I don't know. I think sometimes having the authentic kind of feel kind of works really well. We'll just head now into the game. So we're going to start it up here. You should get the maximum performance out of a game like this. PlayStation 1 is probably the maximum that you can go to. I wouldn't like to try a PlayStation 2 on an iGPU like this. Just doesn't really seem to want to be able to cut it, but this is the game here and it looks absolutely fantastic. A little bit of a wobble on the screen, but apart from that, everything looks good. And here we are playing Crash Bandicoot, the original, on a free PC. Of course, you will need to be able to get your ROMs and your BIOSes and stuff like that, just like you do on all kind of emulation. But it's really nice to see that this system can actually play this type of thing. You can literally build your own PlayStation 1 console out of this, because DuckStation as well also supports DVD drive start, so you can actually play your original PlayStation 1 discs as well. That will work under Linux or Windows, so you don't actually have to get the ROMs if you don't want to. You can just reuse your original discs, and unfortunately we can't do that because we don't have a DVD drive, but this is just awesome to kind of see. You can just build yourself something really cool. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do with this system now. It does need a little bit of work, obviously. I don't think it can kind of maintain itself in this case. It looks a bit trashy, but the components are working and they're working perfectly fine. I think maybe what we'll do is we'll do a little bit of a rejig on this system in another video, so make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to catch that. We'll see how far we can take it by spending and changing as little as possible, and we'll see if we can get it to do some really cool stuff like this. But yeah, there we go, my free PC, the one that I managed to get from a dumpster or a skip. It just goes to show that you can actually get things for free still today, and they do work. It does actually work. It's got a nice SSD, it's got some RAM, could do probably a little bit more, but either way. And I'm sure I will catch you guys in the next one and we'll see what we can do with it.